Story 1. I've been working the front desk at our local police station for about 3 years now. It's not the most glamorous job, but I genuinely love helping people in our community. Whether it's filing reports, directing visitors, or just being a friendly face during someone's worst day, I take pride in what I do. The pay isn't amazing, which is why I also work weekends at a coffee shop downtown. Between both jobs, I barely make ends meet, but I'm working toward my criminal justice degree at the community college. My dream is to become a detective someday, though that feels pretty far off when I'm surviving on instant ramen and expired yogurt most weeks. That Tuesday started like any other. I came in at 7 a.m. to relieve the night shift dispatcher. The weather forecast had been calling for severe thunderstorms all week, and by 9 a.m. it was already getting pretty nasty outside. The rain was coming down in sheets, and the thunder was loud enough to rattle the windows. Around 10:30, I was helping an elderly gentleman file a report about his stolen bicycle when the front doors burst open. This woman stumbled in, soaking wet and looking absolutely furious. Her hair was plastered to her head, her white blouse was completely see-through, and her expensive-looking heels were making puddles on our floor. "Karen, this is absolutely unacceptable. I demand to speak to whoever is in charge here immediately." I finished up with the bicycle gentleman and turned to her with my best customer service smile. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm sorry you got caught in the storm. How can I help you today?" "Karen, I need a police officer to escort me to my workplace right now. I have an important meeting at 11, and I refuse to walk through those disgusting puddles out there." I blinked a few times, thinking I must have misheard her. "I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?" "Karen, are you deaf? I said I need a police escort to my job. I don't do puddles, and this weather is completely unacceptable. I pay taxes in this town, which means you people work for me." "Ma'am, I understand the weather is unfortunate, but our officers are currently responding to actual emergencies. We can't provide personal transportation services." "Karen, excuse me. What kind of emergencies could possibly be more important than helping a tax-paying citizen get to work?" Just then, the radio crackled with a report about a 3-car accident on the highway, and I could hear sirens in the distance. "Well, there's a multi-vehicle accident happening right now, and with this storm, our officers are dealing with several weather-related incidents." "Karen, that's not my problem. I specifically chose to live in this town because I was told the police department here actually cared about serving the community. This is what I get for my tax dollars." She pulled out her phone and started recording me. "Karen, I'm documenting this complete failure of public service. What's your name?" "Ma'am, please put your phone away. I'm trying to explain our policies to you." "Karen, no, I will not put my phone away. This is America, and I have rights. I'm posting this on social media so everyone can see how this police department treats law-abiding citizens." She turned the camera to face herself. "Karen, this is absolutely disgraceful. I came to this police station asking for a simple escort service that my tax dollars should cover, and this incompetent desk clerk is refusing to help me. I'm going to make sure everyone knows how terrible this place is." Sergeant Rodriguez came out from the back office, probably hearing the commotion. "Sergeant Rodriguez, what seems to be the problem here?" "Karen, finally, someone with authority. I need you to assign an officer to drive me to my workplace immediately. I have a very important meeting, and I refuse to ruin my shoes walking through puddles." "Sergeant Rodriguez, ma'am, our officers are emergency responders, not a taxi service. We're currently dealing with multiple storm-related incidents." "Karen, I don't care about your excuses. I pay more in taxes than most people in this town make in a year. My husband is a lawyer, and we donate to the Police Benevolent Fund every Christmas. You should be thanking me, not giving me attitude." She was practically screaming now, and other people in the lobby were staring. "Sergeant Rodriguez, ma'am, I need you to lower your voice. You're disturbing other citizens who are here on legitimate business." "Karen, legitimate business. What could be more legitimate than a taxpayer requesting services? I'm calling the mayor's office right now to report this incompetence. She dialed a number on her phone. Karen, hello, I need to speak to the mayor immediately. This is regarding the complete failure of our police department to serve the community. What? He's in a meeting? This is an emergency. Sergeant Rodriguez. Ma'am, if you don't calm down, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Karen, you can't kick me out. This is a public building paid for with my tax money. I have every right to be here demanding proper service. She started filming again, this time pointing the camera at the sergeant. Karen, everyone needs to see this. This is how our police treat honest citizens. They'd rather let me walk through dirty puddles than do their jobs. An officer walked in from outside, completely drenched from responding to the highway accident. Officer Johnson, Sarge, we need backup at the intersection of Main and 5th. There's a tree down across the road, and traffic is backing up for miles. Karen, perfect. Here's an officer who can drive me to work instead of dealing with some stupid tree. Officer Johnson, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we have multiple emergencies happening right now due to the storm. Karen, so what? People drive in rain every day. It's not that big of a deal. Officer Johnson, there have been 6 accidents in the past hour. Ma'am, we're trying to keep people safe. Karen, well, I'm people too, and I'm more important than some random accidents. That was apparently the last straw for Sergeant Rodriguez. Sergeant Rodriguez, ma'am, you're now interfering with police operations and causing a public disturbance. I'm going to need you to leave immediately. Karen, I'm not going anywhere until someone drives me to work. This is discrimination. I'm being targeted because I'm a successful woman who knows her rights. Sergeant Rodriguez, Officer Johnson, please write this woman a citation for disorderly conduct and public disturbance. Karen, you can't cite me. I haven't done anything wrong. This is harassment. Officer Johnson pulled out his citation book. Officer Johnson, ma'am, you've been asked multiple times to lower your voice and stop disrupting operations. You're preventing us from helping other citizens and interfering with emergency responses. Karen, this is illegal. I'm calling my husband right now. He's going to sue all of you. As Officer Johnson filled out the citation, Karen kept screaming into her phone about lawsuits and discrimination. When he handed her the ticket, she tried to tear it up, but he explained that wouldn't make it go away. Karen, this is the last time I ever donate to your stupid fund. I'm calling the news stations. Everyone will know how terrible you people are. She finally stormed out into the rain, still screaming about her rights and her husband's legal connections. The lobby was quiet for a moment after she left. Elderly man with bicycle report. Well, that was something else. You folks handled that better than I would have. Officer Johnson, thanks. We get at least one of those every month. Me. I just can't believe someone actually expected us to provide a personal chauffeur service because of puddles. Sergeant Rodriguez, oh, you'd be surprised what people think we're supposed to do. Last month someone called demanding we arrest their neighbor's cat for being too loud. About an hour later, we got a call from the mayor's office. Apparently, Karen had indeed called them, but after hearing the details, they actually called to thank us for handling the situation professionally. Turns out she'd also called the local news station, but they weren't interested in covering a story about someone getting cited for demanding a police escort to avoid puddles. The best part came 2 weeks later when Karen had to appear in court for her citation. She showed up with her lawyer husband, expecting to get the charges dropped easily. Instead, the judge watched the security footage from our lobby and fined her an additional $200 for contempt of court when she tried to argue that the video was fake. I learned later that she ended up paying nearly $500 total in fines and court costs, all because she doesn't do puddles and thought her tax dollars entitled her to personal police escort services during a thunderstorm. Some people really do live in their own little world where everyone else exists just to serve them. I'm just glad we had cameras rolling to back up our version of events. Story 2. I never thought I'd be the main character in one of those crazy wedding stories you see online, but here I am. My name doesn't matter for this story. But what does matter is that I'm a former prosecutor who spent 15 years putting criminals behind bars before I decided to switch careers and become a family therapist. Those courtroom skills, they came in pretty handy at my sister's wedding. My sister had been planning this wedding for 2 years. She met her fiancé at a coffee shop where they both accidentally grabbed each other's drinks. It was one of those cute meet cute stories that made everyone roll their eyes but secretly smile. He proposed last Christmas, and she'd been floating on cloud 9 ever since. As her maid of honor, I'd helped her with every detail, from choosing the flowers to dealing with the catering drama when their first choice canceled 3 weeks before the big day. The venue was perfect, a small chapel followed by a reception at a nearby country club. Nothing too fancy, but elegant and intimate with about 70 guests. My sister had stressed over every detail because she wanted everything to be perfect. She'd even made me promise to handle any potential drama so she could just focus on enjoying her day. The ceremony was beautiful. My sister looked radiant in her grandmother's vintage dress, and her fiancé couldn't stop smiling. I was standing at the altar as her maid of honor, watching the officiant begin the traditional vows. Everything was going smoothly until we got to the part where the officiant asks if anyone objects to the union. That's when the chapel doors burst open. A woman I'd never seen before stormed down the aisle. She was wearing a bright red dress that was completely inappropriate for a wedding. Her hair was messy, and she had this wild look in her eyes. The entire congregation turned to stare as she marched toward the altar like she owned the place. "Karen, stop this wedding right now." The officiant looked completely bewildered. My sister went pale, and her fiancé just stood there with his mouth hanging open. I could feel my prosecutor instincts kicking in immediately. Excuse me, but who are you and what are you doing here?" "Karen, I'm stopping this farce of a wedding. He can't marry her because he's supposed to be with me." She pointed dramatically at the groom, who looked like he'd been hit by a truck. "Groom, I'm sorry, but I have no idea who you are." "Karen, don't you dare lie to me. You led me on 8 years ago. You made me think we had something special." The chapel erupted in murmurs. Some guests were pulling out their phones, others were whispering frantically to each other. My sister looked like she was about to cry, which immediately made my protective big sister mode activate. "Ma'am, I need you to calm down and explain exactly what you're talking about." "Karen, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. We dated for months. He told me he loved me." The groom was shaking his head vigorously. "Groom, I swear I have never seen this woman before in my life." Now, here's where my prosecutor training really kicked in. Something about her story didn't add up. In my years of cross-examining witnesses, I'd developed a pretty good sense for when someone was lying or delusional. This woman's story had holes you could drive a truck through. So you're saying you dated him 8 years ago?" "Karen, yes, it was the most magical time of my life." "And where exactly did this relationship take place?" "Karen, here in town, obviously." I looked at my sister and her fiancé. They both lived here now, but I happen to know something this woman apparently didn't. "That's interesting, because 8 years ago, he was living in Seattle finishing his master's degree. He didn't move here until 5 years ago." Karen's face went red, but she didn't back down. "Karen, well, maybe it was 7 years ago, or 6. The timeline doesn't matter. What matters is that he belongs with me." Okay, let's say it was 6 years ago. What's his middle name?" "Karen, What does that have to do with anything?" If you dated him for months, surely you'd know his middle name. What about his birthday? His favorite food? The name of his childhood pet?" The woman was starting to sweat. The congregation was completely silent, watching this unfold like a courtroom drama. "Karen, this is ridiculous. I don't have to prove anything to you." Actually, you do. You just interrupted a legal ceremony with some pretty serious accusations. What's his job?" "Karen, he works in business." "Wrong. He's a veterinarian, and anyone who actually knew him would know that because he never shuts up about the animals he treats. Me, what kind of car does he drive? Karen, a blue one. Strike 2. He drives a silver pickup truck and has for years. Me, one more question. If you supposedly had this amazing relationship, why didn't you stay in touch? Why show up now, at his wedding, to someone else? This is where she really started falling apart. Karen, because I was waiting for him to come back to me. I knew he'd realize we were meant to be together. Me, so you're admitting you haven't actually spoken to him in years. You don't know basic facts about his life, and you've been essentially stalking him from a distance, waiting for him to magically appear in your life. The silence in the chapel was deafening. Karen looked around at all the faces staring at her, and I could see the exact moment she realized how crazy she sounded. Karen, this isn't over. You can't just dismiss true love. Me, ma'am, what you're describing isn't true love. It's a fantasy you've created in your head about someone you've never actually had a relationship with. I strongly suggest you leave now before I call the police. That's when my uncle and 2 of the groomsmen stood up. My uncle used to be a bouncer, and the groomsmen were both pretty big guys. They didn't say anything threatening, but their message was clear. Karen looked around the chapel one more time, her face bright red with embarrassment and anger. Karen, fine. But don't come crying to me when this marriage falls apart because you settled for the wrong person. She turned and stormed back down the aisle, her high heels clicking loudly on the chapel floor. The moment the doors closed behind her, the entire congregation burst into applause. Not just polite wedding applause, full-on standing ovation applause. My sister grabbed my hand and squeezed it tight. Sister, thank you. Me, that's what big sisters are for. The officiant, who had been standing there looking completely shell-shocked, cleared his throat. Officiant? Well, that was certainly a first in my 30 years of performing weddings. Shall we continue? Everyone laughed, and the tension finally broke. The rest of the ceremony went off without a hitch. My sister and her new husband exchanged vows, kissed, and walked back down the aisle to thunderous applause. At the reception, I became something of a celebrity. People kept coming up to me asking about my questioning technique and telling me I should have been a detective instead of a prosecutor. The best part was when the photographer showed us the pictures he'd taken during the whole incident. Karen's face when she realized she'd been caught in her lies was absolutely priceless. We found out later from hotel security that she'd been staying at a nearby motel for 3 days, apparently working up the courage to crash the wedding. She'd seen the announcement in the local newspaper and convinced herself that this was her soulmate from some imaginary relationship years ago. The whole thing lasted maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like hours while it was happening. My sister later told me it was actually one of her favorite parts of the wedding because it showed her how much her family had her back. Plus, she said, it gave them the most interesting wedding story of anyone they knew. The marriage is still going strong 2 years later, and we still laugh about the day Karen picked the wrong bride to mess with. Story 3. I've been working at the downtown public library for 3 years now. I started as a part-time volunteer during college when I needed community service hours for my education degree. After graduation, I couldn't find a teaching position right away, so I took a full-time job here as a library assistant. Honestly, I love it. The quiet atmosphere, helping people find books, organizing events for kids, it's peaceful work that makes me feel useful. Our library sits right next to Riverside Park, which is why we get a lot of foot traffic from dog walkers and joggers. People often stop by to use our restrooms or ask for directions. We're used to all kinds of visitors, but what happened last Tuesday was something else entirely. I was shelving returns in the children's section when this woman burst through the front doors. She had that frantic look people get when they've lost something important. Her hair was messy, and she was wearing a jogging outfit that looked like she'd been running around for hours. Karen, excuse me, I need help right now. I walked over to the circulation desk where my supervisor was working. Me, how can we help you? Karen, my dog is missing. He got off his leash at the park and I can't find him anywhere. I need you to make an announcement over your speaker system." My supervisor looked up from her computer. "Supervisor, I'm sorry, but we can't use our public address system for personal announcements. It's only for library-related information." "Karen, this is an emergency. My dog could be hurt or stolen." "Me, I understand you're worried, but maybe you should call Animal Control or the police non-emergency line. They have resources for missing pets." "Karen, I already called them. They said they'd keep an eye out, but that's not enough. There are people all over this building. Someone might have seen him." My supervisor tried to explain our policy again, but Karen wasn't listening. She started pacing back and forth, getting more agitated by the minute. "Karen, this is ridiculous. All you have to do is press a button and talk into a microphone. It would take 30 seconds. "Supervisor, ma'am, I understand your frustration, but our policy exists for good reasons. If we made announcements for everyone who asked, the library would be chaos." "Karen, so you're just going to let my dog die out there because of some stupid rule?" The conversation was getting heated, and other patrons were starting to stare. I noticed a group of parents with their toddlers heading toward the children's area for story time, which was scheduled to start in 10 minutes. Look, why don't I help you make some flyers? We have a printer and—" "Karen, flyers? Are you kidding me? Nobody reads flyers. I need to reach people now." She stormed off toward the back of the library, muttering angrily to herself. I thought she was leaving through the rear exit, so I went back to my work. The children's librarian had set up the reading circle, and about 15 kids with their parents were settling in for story time. "Children's librarian, good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to read about—" Suddenly, the most ear-splitting screech came through every speaker in the building. "Karen, testing, testing. Can everyone hear me?" The kids started crying immediately. Parents looked around confused and alarmed. The children's librarian dropped her book. "Karen, my dog Buster is missing. He's a golden retriever. If anyone has seen him, come to the front desk right now." I ran toward the administrative area and found Karen in the staff break room, holding the PA system microphone. She'd somehow gotten past the staff-only door. "You can't be back here. You need to stop this right now." "Karen, not until someone helps me find my dog. Buster, if you can hear Mommy, bark." The feedback from the speakers was horrible. In the children's section, I could hear multiple toddlers having complete meltdowns. Parents were gathering their kids and leaving. My supervisor came running back with the head librarian, who I'd never seen look so angry. "Head librarian, give me that microphone immediately and step away from the equipment." "Karen, I'm not going anywhere until—" "Head librarian, security is already on their way. You've just traumatized a room full of children and violated multiple library policies by entering a restricted area." Karen finally seemed to realize she'd gone too far. She set down the microphone but kept arguing. "Karen, all I wanted was help finding my dog. This could have been avoided if you people had just done the right thing." "Head librarian, the right thing would have been respecting our policies and leaving when asked. You're no longer welcome in this building." Security arrived and escorted Karen out while she continued complaining about how unfair everyone was being. The children's librarian spent 20 minutes calming down the kids who'd stayed, and we had to cancel the rest of story time. Later that afternoon, my supervisor told me that the head librarian had contacted the city library system. Karen was now banned from all 12 public library branches in our city. Apparently, she tried to argue that the ban was excessive, but the city stood firm. The best part? Around 5 o'clock, a jogger brought in a golden retriever he'd found sleeping under a bench in the park. The dog had tags with Karen's phone number. When Animal Control called her, she had to come pick up her dog from the pound because she couldn't enter any library to meet the person who found him. Sometimes the system works exactly as it should. I still see her occasionally walking past the library windows when I'm working. She always glares at the building like it personally wronged her. Last week, I watched her try to hand flyers to people going into the library, asking them to check out books for her since she's banned. Nobody took her flyers. Story 4. I've been working as a nurse at City General Hospital for 3 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. Dealing with difficult patients comes with the territory, but what happened last Tuesday still makes my blood boil. Let me give you some background first. I work the 12-hour day shift, which means I'm at the hospital from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. It's exhausting work, especially in the medical surgical unit where I'm assigned. Between checking on patients, administering medications, updating charts, and dealing with doctors who think they're gods, there's barely time to breathe, let alone eat. That's why I always pack my lunch the night before. It's not just about saving money, though hospital cafeteria food costs add up fast on a nurse's salary. It's about having something good to look forward to during my 30-minute break. That Tuesday, I'd made my favorite sandwich, turkey and avocado on sourdough with some homemade pasta salad on the side. I even wrote my name on the container with permanent marker and put it in the staff refrigerator in our break room. The break room is clearly marked staff only with a keypad lock. You need the code to get in, and that code is only given to hospital employees. It's our one safe space where we can decompress for a few minutes without worrying about patients, families, or administrators breathing down our necks. Around noon, I finally got a chance to take my lunch break. I was looking forward to that sandwich more than you'd believe. I'd been on my feet for 5 straight hours, dealt with a combative patient who tried to bite me, and had a doctor yell at me because his patient's Roman IV bag was empty, something that was completely his fault for not writing the proper orders. I walked into the break room and headed straight for the refrigerator. When I opened it, my heart sank. My lunch container was gone. I searched through every shelf, thinking maybe someone had moved it by accident. Nothing. I even checked the freezer, just in case. Still nothing. My coworker was sitting at the table eating her salad. Me, did you see anyone come in here who doesn't work on the floor? Coworker, actually, yeah. About 20 minutes ago, some woman came in. I thought she was a new employee or something, but she didn't say hi or anything. She just went straight to the fridge. Me, what did she look like? Coworker, middle-aged, blonde hair in one of those speak to your manager cuts. She was carrying a fancy purse and had on a lot of jewelry. I knew immediately this wasn't a staff member. Our break room isn't fancy, it's just a small room with a table, some chairs, a refrigerator, and a microwave. No visitor would accidentally wander in there, and they definitely wouldn't have the access code. I decided to walk around the unit to see if I could spot this woman. It didn't take long. She was sitting in the family waiting area near room 314, and she was eating my sandwich. My pasta salad container was sitting right there on the chair next to her, empty. I approached her, trying to keep my voice calm and professional. Me, excuse me, ma'am. I think you might have taken my lunch by mistake. She looked up at me with this incredulous expression, like I just asked her to donate a kidney. Karen, what are you talking about? Me, that sandwich you're eating. It was in a container with my name on it in the staff break room. Karen, I didn't see any name. She was lying. I knew she was lying because I'd written my name in huge letters with a black Sharpie. Me, ma'am, that break room is for hospital staff only. You shouldn't have been in there in the first place. Karen, look, I'm visiting my sister who just had surgery. I've been here all morning and I was hungry. You people can always grab snacks from the vending machines or whatever. It's not like you can't afford it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You people? And assuming I could afford to buy lunch every day? Me, ma'am, I packed that lunch at home. You took my personal food from a staff-only area. I'd appreciate it if you could reimburse me or… Karen, are you serious right now? I'm dealing with a family medical emergency and you're worried about some cheap sandwich. Do you know how much stress I'm under? Her voice was getting louder and other families in the waiting area were starting to stare. Me, I understand you're stressed, but that doesn't give you the right to steal someone else's lunch. I work 12-hour shifts, and that was my only meal. Karen, steal? Steal? How dare you accuse me of stealing? I'll have you know my husband is a lawyer, and we could buy this whole hospital if we wanted to. At this point, she was practically shouting. I saw my charge nurse heading our way, along with one of the security guards. Security, what's the problem here? Me. This woman took my lunch from the staff break room. She somehow got into a restricted area and took food that was clearly labeled with my name. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm being harassed by hospital staff while my sister is recovering from surgery. This is discrimination. Security, ma'am, did you enter the staff break room? Karen, so what if I did? It's a free country, and all I took was some leftover sandwich that nobody wanted. Security, ma'am, that area is restricted to hospital personnel only. How did you get in? Karen, the door was propped open when I walked by. I saw food in there and I was hungry. These nurses make plenty of money. They can afford to share. My charge nurse stepped in. Charge nurse? Ma'am, our break room is never propped open. Someone would have had to let you in or given you the access code. Karen, fine. I followed someone in when they opened the door. Big deal, it's just food. Security, ma'am, I'm going to need to see your ID. Entering restricted areas without authorization is a serious matter. Karen, you can't be serious. I'm not showing you anything. I want to speak to your manager right now. Security, I am the security supervisor for this shift. And yes, ma'am, I'm very serious. While they were talking, I noticed something. Karen had left her purse open on the chair, and I could see another container inside one that looked suspiciously like our other nurse's yogurt container. Excuse me, is that yogurt container from our break room too? Karen's face went red. Karen, I don't know what you're talking about. Security reached into the purse and pulled out the yogurt container. Sure enough, it had my coworker's name written on it. Security, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me to the security office. Karen, this is outrageous. I'm going to sue this hospital. You'll all lose your jobs over this. Security, ma'am, you've committed theft and trespassing. We need to contact the police. Karen, the police? Over a sandwich. Are you insane? Security, you unlawfully entered a restricted area and stole multiple items belonging to hospital employees. That's criminal behavior. As security was escorting her away, Karen kept shouting about lawsuits and discrimination. The other families in the waiting area were staring in disbelief. About an hour later, my charge nurse found me and told me what happened. Turns out Karen had followed a food service worker through the break room door when they were delivering supplies. She'd taken not just my lunch and my coworker's yogurt, but also someone's leftover pizza from the night shift. The best part? Hospital administration reviewed the security footage and discovered this wasn't her first time doing this. She'd been caught on camera entering staff areas on 3 previous visits over the past month. They'd been trying to figure out who was stealing food from various break rooms throughout the hospital. Karen was banned from the entire hospital network, not just our location, but all 5 hospitals in the system. Her sister had to arrange for other family members to visit because Karen was no longer allowed on any of the properties. The police did charge her with theft and trespassing. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to claim she was diabetic and needed food for medical reasons. But that fell apart when they found candy bars and energy drinks she'd also stolen from other break rooms. I never did get reimbursed for my lunch, but honestly, the satisfaction of seeing her get banned from the hospital was worth way more than the cost of a turkey sandwich. Some people think they're entitled to whatever they want, but eventually their behavior catches up with them.